Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode. So, it finally has arrived. So, the long anticipated, long waited AmEx quarter four earnings call has arrived, and this has been long awaited, long overdue. And so, what I'm going to do is actually be sharing with you the top three key takeaways from the earnings call that was recently shared with AmEx. So they actually had shared in the earnings call that there's a $66 billion increase, or about 10% in their actual revenues, and this was FX adjusted. The second thing is that there were 13 million new car acquisitions, and also Gen Z and millennials are right now taking up the most in terms of acquisitions and usage of Amex products. So when it comes down to the actual revenue generated, now American Express has been crushing it off lately. Now from the advertisements that they've been doing, from the sponsorships that they've been doing, the stadiums that they bought out, Brighton and Holbert in the United Kingdom, and also sponsoring the US Open tennis event, which just ended back in December, and so many other different events. The Formula One, they were premium sponsorship for. They have really put their names out there. They have really set the standard. They've set the bar essentially for banking and that whole experience, credit card, and just luxury and prestige, and having that brand associated with the best of the best. So this really had translated into Amex's balance sheets. So when you look at what actually had occurred, so Amex actually had gotten most of their revenues, as they had shared in the earnings call, from actual the card usages. So persons would actually come in and they get the cards, and then they'd actually be swiping it at different places, and so that's really how they actually got their revenue. So it's the cards that they actually had used. And on top of that, the other two key important factors for Amex is the goods and services. So a lot of persons actually use their Amex cards for the benefits and the rewards that they give. So they go like grocery shopping and entertainment and those sorts of stuff. They'll be using the Amex card for, which actually saw about a 16% increase in usage. And so these goods and services that they would use and purchase with the Amex cards actually saw a great increase. And also there's an increase in traveling. So persons who would actually be going, whether in state, out of state, or across countries, actually had increased the usage of their cards as well, and they prefer to use American Express cards. And so this would actually have cause for persons both locally in the United States and internationally. So the international customers, audiences actually had increased the usage of their cards, and so more merchants are now accepting Amex cards. So this is a field and a space that is dominated by MasterCard and Visa. And to now know that American Express has somewhat infiltrated that duopoly and is causing somewhat of a disruption and somewhat of just chaos within that duopoly is good news for competition and for merchants alike. So merchants have always complained about credit card fees, and it being the only fee that a lot of them have not been able to negotiate or reduce. They can reduce any other fee but that. merchant fee is exorbitantly high. And this was actually shared by a merchant in an interview with the BBC. And it's crazy when you think about it, because really and truly it's just a lack of competition. Because if you only have two persons in the space, then they can compete with each other, but the pricing would not be an issue, because at the end of the day, if it's only two competitors you have, they can set the price as high as they can. They can even collude and on that price, which I'm not saying is the case, just for record, but it is a possibility. And they could just be competing on service and other things and just have that price actually fixed between both companies, are very closely related. So with Amex now rising and being more acceptable by merchants and a lot of more customers now using Amex cards, it will also force merchants to be able to accept these Amex cards. And so this will also increase merchants' usage of the Amex platform, and less so on the MasterCard and Visa that they traditionally are using. And Amex has also partnered with other banks as well. So there's a Scotiabank in Jamaica. So the Jamaican arm of Scotiabank actually has implemented a new program where they actually offer Amex cards to certain customers that do business with them. And it's not the black card that they offer, but it is an Amex card. So this shows just an additional way in the strategy of the company and the direction that they're going into, in that they want to infiltrate markets, they want to cause disruptions. And so they are doing this by partnering with large banks in and across different jurisdictions, different regions, different areas that they would not have a base set up, but they know that they currently are using either Visa or MasterCard. And so they would be offering great discounts or additional benefits that they would not have been getting from the traditional two within that space. And so these are some of the factors that would increase the revenues and the usage, which traditionally which would add up to the actual amount in on the books for Amex, and why they are able to grow the company, how they have been growing it. Now, the second reason with that, there are 13 million new acquisitions. So 13 million new persons actually had taken up Amex cards. This is phenomenal. This is a great growth for them. This is really big, and just with the strategic direction that a company is going, it really shows why persons are being so accepted and willing to actually use Amex cards and products. And one thing which is really interesting is that Amex has been able to actually infiltrate millennials and Gen Z, which they were able to increase by 16%. So right now the total amount of millennials and Gen Zs that use Amex is about 30% of the 34% of their portfolio, and the largest is the Gen X, which is 36%, which shows that they are heading in the right direction. Because at the end of the day, you want to target that younger audience, you want to target that younger set of persons who are just starting out in their careers, just starting out in their life, they just left college, or have been in their career, so they've been seasoned maybe around 5-10 years now in the working world. And so these are really the persons that you want to target. These are the ones that you want to be able to have as new and growing customers, because at the end of the day, the baby boomers and the Gen X's are on their way out. So some have retired already, others are close to retirement. Millennials and Gen Z's, they're gonna be around for a while, and so you want to actually get them up. And it really is how they are strategically positioning themselves is really attractive, because just how they position the company and how they position the rewards in terms of the benefits and the cashback and whatever else that they offer, it really is enticing. And Amex is practically like a club. Now they have that black card that they do, which is the premium luxury card, and to get that you have to be spending like $500,000 or so. And the only way you can get that Amex card is through actually invitation. So you can't apply for an Amex black card. You have to be invited by the company. And so if you're one of those persons who likes to show off, you like to brag, you like to, as they say in Jamaica, you like to brav, then this black card is something that you would want to get, because it would mean that it sets luxury. It shows that you are able to afford pretty much any and almost everything. And you would get exclusive deals when you go to certain clubs, certain events, and the deals are even better than the platinum cards, which at this point is really attractive. And also with Amex, one thing that they have done, or probably they have not done, but one thing that would also push the company into the level of growth that they have been experiencing is they one of the biggest rappers from the UK right now, Central Cee. He references Amex a lot in his music, so he tells you about the different things that he does, and he does it so creatively, saying that he would rather have persons have his female companion get the actual pin to his Amex card rather than his Instagram password. And this just creatively shows you how much he values his reputation, but at the same time, he's like, if you get my Amex pin, then you can be spending maybe like a couple $100,000 off the card, and I'll make it back up at the end of the day in my sales and in my deals and my promotions. And also the actual message that he probably didn't say in the music, but is actually something that could happen, is that if he gave his pin to his lovely lady friend and she decides that she's gonna start spending it, so he one day checks and he sees his card missing, then he can actually just block the card, and so he wouldn't lose anything. But if he had actually lost the password to his Instagram, then he would have to create a whole new Instagram account, which would mean that he'd have to rebuild his following, his fan base, and his whole distribution channel. So it really is very crafty and just playful in how he actually uses and puts that whole line together, but at the same time it's so true, and it's easier to replace that card than to actually replace your following and your fan base. And also another person that references Amex as well too is Drake. So he had done it in his In My Feelings song, where the females actually had said that they in order for him to get their attention, they need this black cat, which they were referencing AmEx as well. And so the whole pop culture, rap culture, black music culture has put a lot of prestige in AmEx, and this would actually add as a reason as to why millennials and Gen Z has been increasing in terms of their Amex usage. The last key takeaway from the earnings call is that right now the card spending is actually at the largest it has been in the last quarter of 2024, which means that around October to December, the number of persons that have been using their Amex cards and the amount of spending and purchasing that has been done from American Express customers and clients has significantly increased over the last quarter of 2024. And so this has a lot to do with just that whole system and that whole season. So when you think about it, the fourth quarter of the year, the winter period, is really that season where a lot of spending occurs. So there's Thanksgiving that is in November in the United States. And then right after Thanksgiving, there's Black Friday, which is in November, the next day. And then after Black Friday, you get like a few weeks break, and then there's Christmas. So starting Thanksgiving season, persons are shopping for Christmas. Those are the early bird shoppers. And then you have the Christmas crowd now, which is where the real Christmas shopping occurs. And this would take place anywhere from around the end, so the 29th, 30th of November to, it would start from that time up to around the 6th and of December, which is where usually that early bird set of shoppers would start shopping. And then by the second week of December, you'd notice that a lot more persons are shopping. And then when it comes on to the week before Christmas and that week of Christmas, that is when you traditionally would not be able to find parking at malls and plazas, and you go into the store and everything would be sold out. And so what they really are saying in the earnings call is that during this last shopping season for last year was the most ever generated for the entire company. And so right now the AmEx is actually being a little bit more confident in predicting that their revenues would actually grow between 8 to 10% in 2025, and their earnings per share will actually grow by up to $15 to $15.50 for the same 2025 period. And so with that being said, right now the actual revenues of AmEx has actually increased over the past year. So the revenues over the third quarter has actually increased by 4%, and over the previous year, so fourth quarter 2024 compared to 2023, has actually increased by 7.75%. And so revenues actually closed the 2024 quarter four of at $13 billion. And so this is really significant. And also, just to add as well, the net income actually had declined over quarter three to quarter four of 2024 by about 13%, which is interesting, and it's now currently valued at $2.1 billion. But it did increase over the same period last year. So comparing Q4 2024 to Q4 2023, revenues actually increased by 12.26%, which is great considering all that the company had done over the past year. And the actual growth rate of the stock is right now for 2024, that stock actually grew by about 56% over the entire year. And for 2025, right now, the stock is up about 7.68%. And the company has a market cap of $226 billion. So, what that means is that right now, the amount of what the worth of the company and the perceived value from investors and just Wall Street overall is really good. And if you look at the actual stock chart from 2024 up to 2025 up to the current date, you realize that it has traditionally been increasing over that past year, and there were just a few dips within the market which would just really be trading dips that had occurred. But so far the company has been up, and for 2024 it ended at 56%, and right now comparing the ending data up to January 2024, it's up about 59%, which is phenomenal. And considering all that's happening, considering that 2024 was a challenging year for the banking system, with 2025 now actually looking to be the best year for banking stocks and banks, commercial banks, and other deposit taking institutions overall, then it is expected that American Express, should everything else be equal, should they continue on the trajectory that they have started this first quarter on so far and ended that last quarter of 2024 on, then the company should by right outperform what they had done for 2024. And with bigger deals coming, with bigger actual events coming, with more sponsorship, with more actually sampling, and more with actual more referencing by these pop culture artists, then it should also increase the Gen Z's and millennials into usage and awareness of the products. And to be honest, Amex is like everywhere. Like everywhere you go, you're seeing Amex's logo, you're seeing the signs, and then if you're seeing these signs and logos everywhere you go, and you're making your purchases and you want to be a part of that exclusive club, and they tell you that you can sign up and you get special discounts or rewards or cashbacks or whatever else that they offer, then you'll be more inclined to actually accepting it, especially knowing that if you go to, let's say, 10 events for the year and 8 of them are sponsored by one sponsor, then logically it makes sense just to actually get that card and that reward and be a part of that whole system and that ecosystem. So logically it would make sense, and this would also be a great marketing strategy that they might have implemented or could have implemented. And so it's just one of those subtle ways of marketing. By being everywhere, pretty much flooding the market, then you have actually increased their market share and also increase the likelihood that more persons perceive a much better and greater value in your company. So what is next for Amex? Well, we are expecting greater growth. We're expecting much more in terms of demand. We're expecting bigger revenues, and we're also expecting that the market cap should increase with the stock prices increasing over the next few coming months and for the year into the next year, with the banking industry, as we have been stated since the beginning of this year, set to grow significantly, set to be one of the best years and the best periods going forward. So the next few years, the banking industry, with everything else being equal, is set to be one of the industries that is going to be the best performing industry on the S&P 500 in the United States and across the world, and it is evident, and I'll link the videos down below. So thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. I hope that you actually did like it. If you did, feel free to give us a thumbs up or a heart wherever you consume this material. Share this video with a friend who you believe would be benefiting from the information discussed here, and also subscribe so that you do not miss out on any new episodes as soon as they are released. Until next time, take care. Love you guys. Bye.